Oh, well, they just went there. Maureen Callahan and Kinsey Schofield going public on these long reported rumors, which I can tell you I believe to be true, that it was Meghan Markle, perhaps with Prince Harry, who first spread the rumors about an affair between Prince William and Rose Hanbury. Now, let me take you through a little bit of the background on this. You'll remember there was the famous tweet exchange between the then Guardian writer Hadley Freeman and Giles Corran, who was the columnist for The Times. And Giles Corran responded to Freeman saying, yes, it is an affair. I haven't read the piece, but I know about the affair. Everyone knows about the affair, darling, just as Jews, even us Jews, although admittedly I'm quite a posh Jew, if such a thing admits. Now, after coming under a storm of criticism, Giles Corran, there he is, did eventually delete the post, but the damage was done. And many believe that it confirms suspicions because Giles Corran is part of the Soho House set where Meghan Markle which Meghan Markle would obviously use very often to get stories that suited her narrative into the public domain. I'm going to get analysis on this from Royal YouTube Sensation, according to Taz, in just 1 minute. But this is how Kinsey Schofield and Maureen Callahan went public with this.
If you know if this is true or not, that it was Meghan who leaked all those rumors that William was having an affair with Rose Hanbury.
So what I heard was that there was a foodie, like a food critic at a Soho House event, and people saw Meghan sitting down with this guy. And that person then goes and tweets this and blows up the internet. And that guy later had to come out and say, I was drunk. I didn't mean it. I was just trying to cause trouble. But the rumors are that this guy was seen at Soho House. Meghan would be familiar with a foodie blogger because she considers herself a foodie. Look at her program, unfortunately. And so that's, yes, I've heard all of that, that Meghan is the one that instigated this. And I think I've said that like on Sky News and stuff. I don't think that it's something that I've been fearful of saying. I see the value in it. She didn't like the heat that she was getting, and it was a way for her to distract and to change the conversation, allegedly.
It's also a way, if it's true, for her to really, I'll use Meghan terms, manifest or self-actualize, hold her space as a true chaos agent, as a merchant of chaos. And it allows her a temporary release of her rage and resentment against William and Catherine for being the alpha royals, for her being stuck with the loser dumb beta royal.
According to Taz, with me now, your response.
This is the latest twist in one of the most scandalous royal rumors of the last decade. For years, whispers circulated about Prince William and Rose Hanbury, the Marchioness of Cholmondeley and a close friend of the Waleses. And while the palace has always refused to comment, the story never seemed to die. But now, explosive claims suggest it may have been Meghan Markle herself who leaked the rumor to the press. Think about that for a moment. Meghan, who has long complained about being the victim of negative press and cruel gossip, accused of doing the very thing she claims destroyed her own reputation. Let's rewind. The Rose Hanbury affair rumors first appeared in 2019, when a British tabloid suggested Kate Middleton had fallen out with her former friend Rose. From there, speculations spiraled into whispers of an alleged affair involving Prince William. The palace moved quickly to try to silence it, but the damage was already done. At the time, royal insiders wondered, who planted this story? Who had something to gain from it?
Well, Kinsey is right. Giles Corran was on the Amsterdam 2-day cruise that they did. I think it was 2 days for Soho House when they opened up that particular venue. Harry and Meghan were with him. And I've always found that very, very strange that he was the one that started that after spending time with the couple, like you said, going to a Soho House event. And it was crazy how quickly his tweet blew up. I had a tweet exchange actually between Giles and myself, and he said that he was just passing a comment with friends. And when you looked at the number of people that were actually following the conversation, there's only like 3 or 4 people in that tweet that were part of the conversation. It's like somebody was waiting for that to be posted, for it to have then hit the mainstream, as it were. Meghan's Sussex squad were the ones that picked up on it, and then it went boom. And it's like, who was following him at that time when only 4 people were in that conversation? Why was there so much attention being paid, waiting for a food critic to say something? And I just find it always, I find it linked, because every sort of story that we've had come out with, Catherine being a mean girl, Catherine not giving Meghan a lift, that came from one of Meghan's friends in Toronto. I can't remember her name now, but she runs one of the magazines over there, a gossip one. And it's just always every nasty rumor that has been started, that has come out in the last, what, 8 odd years. It's only ever been since Meghan Markle got her toes behind palace walls. And the fact that they were on that Amsterdam outing together has always made me believe that Meghan was the one that definitely sowed or planted the seeds, as it were.
Yeah, indeed. Totally. Absolutely. I mean, this is a woman who believes in playing dirty, who has played dirty. Sunshine Sachs, who at the time was working behind the scenes on her PR, even though she was a member of the royal family, they famously play dirty too. And then, Tash, you look to more recent times when Catherine and anyone who had any idea about what was going on, including me, were like, whoa, back off, you're all going to look utterly ludicrous and like really terrible people. But who was the person that named Rose Hanbury, that actually prompted that legal action from Rose Hanbury? Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert, the hard left, now axed US talk show host, working for CBS, which, remember, Oprah's channel, same channel that Meghan gave the interview to. Oh, Gayle King's channel too. And Harry had obviously appeared with him. So none of that is a coincidence. None of that is a coincidence. And of course, Harry feels in his bones, Tash, this deep sense of grievance and this deep sense of unfairness. Why do the media give Prince William an easy ride when they haven't given me an easy ride? And I think they're onto this. And, you know, I've obviously been onto this myself for some time and will have much more to say in the weeks and months to come. Tash, Jamie Kern Lima. just the name. Just the name. I saw your post on X about her, and you're almost suggesting, look, this is weirdly like they're in some type of cult now. But it was interesting because Meghan did pretty much leave this woman on the cutting room floor of With Love Meghan. If there was one thing that she had listened to, it was like, oh my God, I don't want to be associated with this woman. But I've got to play this video, Tash, that you were referring to of Jamie Kern Lima, because when you start to think, this is the person who Meghan chooses to hang out with, this is the weird shit that they talk about, and this is the sort of fantastical fairy tale that they've created of their lives, you sort of start to think, God, no wonder Harry is so far down the rabbit hole. These people are not with it. They're not normal. They're in their own world.
It's the same buzzwords. It's the same words that I've heard Meghan use as well. And at the fact that she's talking about, who you choose to serve in life, you know, who keeps going on about service is universal. And it's like they're in their own little weird cult. I can honestly picture them all sitting there in these white robes with flowers in their hair. It reminds me very much of, I think it was the 80s, when there was this massive boom in the, you need to help yourself before you can help others. Look deep within your soul. And it's all this crazy stuff that people are reciting. And I call it gobbledygook. I really do. It's one of those things that you just think, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even sound like the English language. They've just merged together all of these words, and you almost need people just ringing little bells or banging a great big drum in the background as they speak. It's so whimsical and so out there. And yes, I think it does make a lot of sense that Harry is definitely parroting everything that his wife does, because it seems anyone that's in that inner circle of Meghan's, they all parrot each other.
Now many are pointing to Meghan Markle, who by then was already feeling sidelined and bitter inside the royal fold. So why would Meghan do something so damaging? Critics argue that she may have seen it as the perfect way to weaken Kate Middleton. After all, Kate is not just William's wife, she's the future queen consort. Meghan, by comparison, was constantly cast as second best. Less popular, less respected, less powerful. By feeding rumors that William was unfaithful, Meghan could undermine the perfect image of Kate's marriage. And by extension, Kate herself. Was it jealousy? Was it revenge? Or simply a ruthless PR strategy?
I know. And Tash, another clip that went viral this week. And this one really interested me because I think a lot of people have forgotten about how long ago Meghan Markle was desperately trying to get into the national media, the entertainment media. Now, you'll remember in the UK, that meant arranging little hotel events with like pretty Z-list journalists like Katie Hind, who was the showbiz columnist for The People, which was pretty much the least read tabloid at the time. She was also the lowest common denominator journalist. Like, no one trusted her. No one believed that what she said was the truth. And Meghan Markle was going to meet her to talk about Ashley Cole and things like that. But it was this clip of Wendy Williams that reminded everyone that she was actually doing the same thing in the US too. Tash, I just think it was such a good reminder this week of the desperation and the type of woman that we were dealing with. And it sort of did link to With Love Meghan series 2, because I thought, I don't know if you agree, but the moment that she felt most uncomfortable was when the producers had clearly forced her to reminisce with Chrissy Teigen, bully girl Chrissy Teigen, about her time on Deal or No Deal, because she doesn't want people to be reminded of her desperation for fame and the lengths that she went to. So I thought it was a very nice reminder from Wendy Williams this week.
Yeah, she is. Meghan has been a grifter for a very long time, as some people would call her, but her desperation to climb that pole for fame, and she got to the top. And I still cannot believe that a woman from Deal or No Deal married a prince of the United Kingdom, became the daughter-in-law, the granddaughter-in-law of Queen Elizabeth II, and she's lost it all. And now she's merching other people's clothes on Instagram. She's selling $9 jam jars and rosé wine. And yeah, she does still come across as the exact same person. Meghan is always going to be chasing fame or chasing money. But that was funny for the reminder, as you said, from Wendy Williams. I think she's spoken about her a couple of times, because she's brought that up a few times, I think, after Meghan fell out of favor as well, saying, she was so desperate to try and get herself on TV. And she was at that point, she was already she'd already met Harry. She'd already met Harry, and I think that he wasn't willing to make her his girlfriend at that time. I believe that they had met each other on a number of occasions, but when it became official, obviously Meghan had to drop all of that act. She didn't want the royal family to know that she was this desperately seeking fame. She was, in fact, revising her entire career, wasn't she? Her Wikipedia account changed. She was no longer a spokesmodel. She was no longer a supermodel. She was then an activist and someone campaigning for human rights.
So Tash, I mean, it's also been a bad week for Harry. This has been completely overshadowed because there's been so much news, which is why I want to talk about it with you. But Niall Gardner, who's doing God's work from the Heritage Foundation perspective in terms of their determination to force Harry into releasing his immigration documents to try and prove that he lied about drug taking on his immigration documents, which would, of course, really question whether he should be allowed to stay in the US or not. He posted this week, Tash, over 1,000 papers on Prince Harry found at the US State Department. The pressure will grow in Washington for the release of Harry's immigration records. And Tash, this feels to me a little bit like the situation with Epstein. You know, at the end of the day, Trump has made it quite clear that he doesn't particularly want to go to war with Prince Harry because he knows that that will cause difficulties for King Charles and Prince William. So that's the reason why. It's down to his respect for Charles and William, nothing to do with any type of respect for Harry. However, Tash, I think given the pressure on the Trump administration over transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, we've seen over the course of the past few days the release of the Ghislaine Maxwell interview, for example. Surely this is an easy win for the Trump administration. Just release the documentation on Harry. Why on earth should it be protected?
And here's where things get even darker. If William suspected even for a moment that Meghan was behind this leak, it would explain why his relationship with Harry collapsed so quickly and so completely. Imagine your own sister-in-law spreading lies about your marriage. How could there ever be trust again? This wasn't just gossip. It was a nuclear bomb dropped right in the middle of the family. And the wounds are still wide open today. Critics also point to a pattern. Meghan has been accused before of using the media to her advantage. Whether it's planting stories to look like a victim, or using carefully timed leaks to shift public opinion. This accusation, that she leaked the Rose Hanbury rumor, fits right into that narrative. And if true, it proves Meghan isn't just a player in the media game, she's a master manipulator.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they do need to be transparent on this because this comes down to, did he lie? And I think majority of people think that Harry didn't tell the truth. He probably didn't even fill out his own passport paperwork himself anyway. Let's be realistic here. He probably had an assistant do it. But the point is that other people, other famous people, have had their visas revoked from them just by the admission of taking drugs. Nigella Lawson, she wasn't allowed back in, the famous chef, she wasn't allowed back into America. She since has reapplied, but she had to go through a lot of loopholes and drugs testing. Sadly, Liam Payne, who we lost not that long ago, he was stuck where he was because of his visa problems. He couldn't get into the USA because of the admission where he was going through a few issues and he'd taken drugs. So you've got to think, why are they still covering for Harry? So if he hasn't done anything wrong, then release the documents. But by hiding them, it makes it look like that there is still people in the government willing to cover for Harry. But if they're not willing to cover for other celebrities, why particularly him? It doesn't make it transparent for people, and it does anger. I know I've spoken to quite a lot of Americans. Why is it one rule for him and one rule for others?
Indeed, indeed. And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. But Tash, I think that's why Meghan Markle, who had the opportunity this week in the Bloomberg interview to go for Donald Trump, made it quite clear she wasn't going to do that. And I found that really telling.
Yeah, she did. She bit her tongue for a change. I was quite surprised that she didn't come out with
Well, she
something
knows the
snidey.
seriousness, I guess, of what the family is facing. And
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Harry's already stuck his head above the parapet a couple of times, didn't he? When he didn't say President Trump's name, but when he was in that Invictus speech, and he's done a few little snide remarks about people in power and corruption and stuff. And maybe they've got to the point where Harry knows that if he and Meghan do keep sticking their head above the parapet, they may not like the attention that they get when when Donald Trump turns around and says, do you know what? Fine, we'll release the records, because then the government will need to act. They will need to kick him out of the country, and he will have to follow the exact same rules that other people do.
we've actually got the clip of her on Bloomberg refusing.
Yeah, you can tell that. I don't know if Emily was even maybe hinting, was that about Trump or was that about the royal family again? Meghan, is there anything that you would like to continue to say? It's the same nonsense that she comes out with, the same as she did with the Alison P. Davis. It's that whole thing of like, I've got lots to say until I say it. Part of the, what was it? Part of the unsung song is still part of the song, and all of that nonsense. You can tell that Meghan wants to say something, but I don't know. I think there's so much of that Bloomberg interview where she was obviously referencing the royal family. I still think there's undertones from threats from her that one day she will say something. She just chooses not to. But yeah, whether it was about Trump or not, there was definitely something with Meghan there. You can tell by how strained her face was that I think maybe she's been told that she can't say anything at the moment. If Harry is trying to meet up with the king, or if Harry is concerned about the visa issues, but it didn't seem an organic answer using Meghan's own terminology there. She didn't seem like that she was being completely honest.
But here's the contradiction. How can you claim the press ruined your life, while secretly feeding them the very poison that destroys other people's reputations? That's not victimhood, that's hypocrisy. The implications of this are huge. If Meghan really did plant or fuel the William Rose rumor, she effectively drove an even deeper wedge into the monarchy at a time when it was already fractured. The public's faith in William and Kate was shaken, the brothers' bond was broken, and Meghan positioned herself as the eternal outsider battling the so-called villains of the palace. For the monarchy, it's yet another reminder of the chaos that Harry and Meghan leave in their wake.
Tash, People magazine this week, and I mean, I think it's really telling, by the way, that they actually did this on the week of the release of With Love, Meghan Series 2, deciding to look into the life of Prince George. Let me take you through it, Tash. The cover, the boy who will be king, the most normal 12-year-old future monarch we've ever had. The reporting quotes a palace insider. This is in regards to him taking on more royal duties. It's a slow game, and it gets him used to it on the couple's terms rather than anybody else's. It writes, while his younger brother and sister often shine with lively charm, George tends to project a thoughtful calmness. He comes across as a serious chap, and insider adds, to have the world's eyes on you, especially when you're so young, is demanding. Yet those who know him well say he also has a playful streak. Indeed, times have changed. Charles was called Sir at school, while William went by his first name, and George is following suit. It's evolution, rightly so. Knight notes the close insider. It reflects the modern vision William is defining for his son, unlike his own childhood, shaped by his parents' tumultuous divorce and relentless photo calls, even on family vacations. And far from the royal upbringing Charles experienced, William and Kate have carved a different, more protected path for George. What did you make of this, Tash?
I think he's barely 12 years old, and I think a lot of speculation of what his personality like. I think a lot of that is going to be made up. He does come across with a similar temperament of Prince William of that age, which is quite normal for a child to have, like, characteristics and personality traits of their parents. I think that he is going to be even more protected by his mother and his father that even Prince William wasn't. And when I say protected, I don't necessarily mean sheltered. You can see that they're introducing him slowly to royal duties, but more importantly, they are allowing him and his sister and his younger brother to remain children for as long as possible. I think the way that Catherine and William are doing it, where they have separate outings with the children in the public eye as well. We saw Princess Charlotte looking incredibly grown up when she was meeting King Philippe of Spain at the Wimbledon finals. And I think there shouldn't be too much pressure on Prince George yet. Whilst it's nice to see them on the front covers of magazines as a family, I think that we are not really going to see George's true personality comes out until he's a lot older. So I just hope the magazines do respect the boundaries, that this is a 12-year-old little boy that is, and he is a little boy, or a tween, as you call them now, that not to start piling on the pressures of what he is like, what he isn't like, things he's doing at school, because obviously it put a lot of unfair pressure on Prince William. And I can see that's why he is also more determined than ever to keep his children out of the spotlight as much as possible, whilst also still involving them with some things.
And for William and Kate, it's a betrayal they will never forgive. So let's lay it out. Meghan Markle accused of leaking the most damaging royal rumor in decades, the alleged William and Rose affair. If it's true, it explains so much about the bitterness, the anger, and the permanent break between the Sussexes and the rest of the royal family. But the question is, do you believe it? Did Meghan really leak the rumor? Or is she being used as a convenient scapegoat for palace politics?